If you caught episode 157 of the podcast, you would have met Rikki Gilby. He's a member here of the gym, and he runs this really cool business called Waw Handplanes, where they make hand planes for body surfing, so like little kind of paddles that you wear on your hands, from recycled ocean plastics. Anyway, we did an episode just on how he, on the sort of whole kind of timeline of his business, talking about how he came up with the idea, how he established this supply chain, and through to how he sells these things. Anyway, it was really cool. Episode 157. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. Today, Rikki and I caught up for a coffee earlier. Catch up every so often. He's been away in recent months, but we caught up just for a bit of a chat about business and stuff, and I thought we'd just kind of extend that to the show. So we were talking about managing all of these different roles within your business. He's now running 2 businesses. I have 2 businesses. It's not a flex when I say 2 businesses because, one of them's really young. One of them is slightly less young. But basically when you're wearing all these different hats, you're trying to be the marketing person, the salesperson, the admin guy. You're trying to manage the finances, the staff, like all that stuff. There's so many different roles, and it's really cool to get an insight into how other people handle those things, because everyone sort of goes their own way about it. At the end of the day, we're all trying to be productive, and there are some things that can help with being more productive. So Rikki and I were chatting about that. If you're in business, or if you plan to be in business, or even if you're just like managing a few clients and maybe you got a job on the side but you got a bit of a PT thing going on, that's a business. So I hope that you can get some really good takeaways from this. I know I did. Let's jump into the episode. My other dog, Jazz, was on the back of a ute that we have. And it's pretty high, right? Like the tray of a ute. And I put her up there because she can't jump up there. And I was like, yeah, she was kind of interested in the ute. So I was like, go on, you can stand on the back of the ute while it's parked. This one got immediate FOMO and was like standing right underneath where Jazz was. So the back of the tray, Jazz is standing along it. This one just launches up through Jazz's legs, through like right under the undercarriage, and like pops out the other. It was the most precision. It was like a Jackie Chan move. Yeah, it was pretty fucking cool. That's when we realised that she got big leg power. Hey, we were having a chat before the show about you doing this new venture.
Yep.
Right? And what interested me about that was you now got 2 brands, right? 2 jobs. And I mean, this is an extremely entrepreneurial centric thing, right? To have 2 different brands that you're building. Yep. Maintaining, whatever part of the timeline they're at. But where I think this is relevant for most folks is that it's like a change between 2 different hats. One day you're on this time you're on this business, and that time you're on that business. And it might be like, if I'm thinking about, say, in the gym, it might be this is you as a coach, this is you as a manager of the business.
Yeah, sure.
Or this is you as your role in sales, this is you as your role, whatever.
Yep.
One thing that I've found tricky is being effective and not wasting time when switching between the 2.
Yeah.
Tell me about how that plays out for you.
Yeah, like it's a learning curve. I haven't necessarily run 2 different things simultaneously before. But I think when you run your own little small business, especially for, I'm 10 years in on my first brand.
Yeah.
You wear many hats already. You're a different person every other hour. You're a digital marketer, you're a customer service agent, you're a website designer, you're a, logistics manager, you're a supply chain manager. So for me, I'm doing many different roles every day anyway. I think when you're doing a second brand, I'm learning at the moment, there are many crossovers. So the second brand that I'm running is a very similar process to my first. It's a product-based business. You need to get product made. You need to make sure that's high quality. Building a website, marketing strategy, like the fundamentals are all the same. It's still a product-based business that you're trying to sell. So there's lots of similarities. It's a very fresh business, my second one. So yeah, I'm thinking from the very start, like building it from scratch and learning what I've learned over the years with my first one. So there's a lot less trial and error involved. Like I know what I need to do. I've made all the mistakes in the first one.
Hopefully.
I'm sure I'll make many more as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think when you run your own business, I think one of the biggest pitfalls that a lot of people fall into is they run out of steam, they run out of passion, they run out of energy in their business. And I definitely I'm feeling that with my first brand, and hence why I'm thinking about doing something extra on top. Because when you've been running the same thing for so long, the passion and the fuse does start to go out a little bit. But now I've got this new idea that I'm super pumped about. I'm excited to go to work. I'm excited to get up and start working on it. I'm excited when I'm writing my to-do list the night before, what I'm going to do the next day. But that excitement transfers over into my original brand as well. I'm pumped to do my stuff, and I know that if I don't do what I need to do for Waw, my first business, I won't have time to work on my new one. So I'm super productive in the days that I'm working on my old business, way more than I have been in the last kind of 12 months, because I know I need to get it done, and then I can focus on this new cool stuff. So I'm in a good phase right now. I'm feeling pretty productive. Like working on 2 different businesses at the same time is a bit of a struggle, but I'm loving it at the moment.
So there's a momentum piece there, huh? Like where this momentum that it's sort of being generated from the fire of the new thing is carrying over to the other thing.
Correct, yeah. Like I'm very proud of where my my body surfing business has got to. Like I automated a lot of the processes for the business when I had kids, and I won't spend much time with them as possible. And that automation side of things went really well. And I got to the point where, the struggle would be waking up in the morning and be like, what should I be doing today? What is the best use of my time?
Damn you.
I know it's
the promised land,
but it was
it's hard to not be busy.
Yeah, and I find that difficult, and I didn't want to take those days back that I'd achieved by automating everything else. So I had this extra time. I wanted to put it into something new. But yeah, now I know exactly what I need to do every day, because I only have a certain amount of time to do it. I've got a deadline essentially to get this stuff done. Mm-hmm. But yeah, scheduling my days has become very important. I've gone from that waking up and being like, right, what should I do today, to the last task of my day every day is writing my to-do list for the next day.
Right.
That's been really important for me at the moment.
Just so that you're not fucking around in the morning. You already know when you go
Correct.
to bed that I'm going to get up at this time because I got to start it.
Yeah, and I'm notoriously a bad sleeper, especially when I'm excited for something. And when you're starting a new business, my brain switches on at about 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
The kids are in bed. I've had 2 hours to just chill with my wife and watch TV or whatever. I go to bed, all the stimulus is gone, brain kicks on, and it's
Ideas
like
time.
All these things going through your head. What can I do? This is a great idea. I should do that. And, I'll spend a couple of hours in bed just thinking through stuff. And, my wife hates it because she just passes out and I just want to talk to her about this cool stuff that I'm thinking of. But yeah, to combat that, I try to do that at the end of my day, just write down everything that I want to do the next day. But then also having a notepad next to my bed.
Yeah.
So I can just put on the low light, roll over, write something down, and I can actually sleep then.
Yeah, being able to get it out of the head, huh?
It's a huge thing. It doesn't sound like a massive thing to do to just write something down, but you get sleep that way. It's done. I'll remember it in the morning because it's written down.
Yeah.
And now I can just relax.
So, like I said in the intro that you've been on the show before, and we did a whole sort of breakdown of your original business, Waw Handplanes, and so Waw Handplanes.
You can say it how you like.
Can I? Okay, cool. Yeah, so go back and listen to that if you can, because that business is really fascinating, and it's such a fucking cool idea. Tell me this though, just quickly, do you do 2 consecutive days on business 1, 2 consecutive days on business 2, or do you alternate?
Ideally, yes, 2 and 2, but inevitably stuff always comes up that you need to do. So my days are often a bit mixed.
Yeah.
I try to keep it 2 days on, 2 days on. But yeah, there'll always be something that pops up that you need
urgent
to...
stuff is urgent stuff.
On Waw, or you know, you need to get an invoice paid for the other stuff to get your samples through on time. And but yeah, it is essentially a 2 day on, 2 day on process.
Yeah.
And then 1 day with a kid.
When I'm thinking about, you know, a lot of our listeners, like in the coaching and the gym game, I think that's a luxury that you just that most don't have. Maybe you do if you're at a point where your gym is really well staffed and you can be like, this is my marketing day and this is a coaching heavy day where I go in and I just coach. But usually you're kind of trying to squeeze a bit of everything into each day. I think just a suggestion on that is to try to block it, is to try to reduce the amount of things you are doing every day. So if you can, maybe it's just one chunk for admin time, and maybe that's just on one day, and then on the next day it's like creative time, something like that, plus some coaching.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, doing like 45 minutes of that, 45 of that, I find that's really ineffective.
Yeah, I think that's what I admire a lot about people who work in the gym industry, is that essentially you are the business. You need to be there. You're the face of it. Your time is required constantly to be physically present. If you're PTing, you're running classes or whatnot. One of the benefits of running a product-based business is if you can get it to a level where you order the stock and it will sell, you can automate a lot of it and then start to remove your time from involvement in the business, and then use that time for whatever else you need.
Yeah, it's so true. So tell me, you kind of mentioned it before, you do marketing stuff, sales, the administration, like you do everything for your businesses. Do you find is it a consideration for you separating being creative and being kind of operational, or do you just fucking do it all when you're doing it? Like you're like, hey, I'm going to spend some time here thinking about my next marketing campaign. Or are you like thinking about that and building it at the same time?
I personally find that very difficult to do that. Like I have to be in the flow state to be able to kind of work on something like marketing strategy or creativity stuff. I'll dedicate time to it, and then if I'm not into it, I'll inevitably get pulled away by just kind of some admin task and do that. I kind of have to jump on it when I'm ready. You know, when I'm feeling in the mood,
inspired.
I've done things that need to be done, you know, on my to-do list, the things that are 100% required, do that. Yeah. And then if I'm in the mood, then I'll start to think about some of the creative side of things. But I've had to come up with some kind of little productivity hacks. Two of my biggest ones that have been working for me a lot. I bought a really fancy mobile phone holder that I put out in my lounge. And so I put my phone in this, and it's like one of those really nice ones where you just put it in, it clicks in beautifully and starts charging. So I kind of want to put my phone in it. I put my phone in there for the first few hours of the day, and then I go in the office and work. And my phone's outside.
Oh.
But I really wanted to have, couldn't work out where to put my phone, which sounds like a stupid thing, but I wanted to have a place to put it.
Yep.
So now it's my routine. I'll get up, I will check emails first thing, just to make sure that everything's going okay, nothing's gone crazily wrong. And then when I go in the office, I'll place my phone in its fancy phone holder and go in and do 2-3 hours of like as much productive work that I can. Mm-hmm. And then also no emails until after 11.
Right, so there's the initial email check.
The initial email,
but then
just to make sure that...
What time's that? What time do you get up?
Probably like 7:30.
Okay.
So
fuck, bro. People be like, what, 2:30, 3:30 a.m.? What are we talking here? How productive are we? Okay, so...
And that's when I say check, it's just to skim through on the phone just to make sure that Yeah.
Nothing's like on fire.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, right, and so then you don't check your phone until 11:30 or 11.
Yeah, so I'll go out about 11, have kind of my mid-morning snack, coffee, get in the phone, check what I've missed, and then once I go back in with my coffee, then I'll go through some of the emails.
Yeah, okay.
But I try to stick to that as much as possible. That really gives me that time, because I find my time in the morning can also be I'm very distractible in the morning.
Yep.
It takes me a bit of a while to get going on my day. So if I don't do that, I'll either get sucked into my emails or my phone, and that just kind of ruins my morning's productivity.
Yeah.
Which I could kind of get away with when I was just doing the one business that had a lot of stuff automated. So I also really didn't have that necessity to be super productive for those couple of hours.
Yep.
So it became this habit of mine that I really hated, that my mornings would be unproductive.
Yeah.
So the last 6 months or so, I've been doing this no phones, no emails morning section, and it's been working really well.
Wow. Yeah, there's a it's been explained to me a couple of different ways, but there's kind of like in the sort of first couple of hours of the morning, you really have a more sort of clear headspace in a way, don't you? And if you go and sort of, I think of it as like polluting it. If you pollute it with like what's happening on Instagram, what's my WhatsApp saying, who did what on Facebook, you start going through all this social media and emails and shit, you just kind of, you destroy that space. And it's going to get destroyed. Like your day's going to, like naturally a bunch of shit's going to add up, and you're going to be, you know, it's like you feel very different at the end of the day. But so if you don't protect that initial period, you never get it back until the next day.
Yeah, and I work through most of the things on my list in that few hours in the morning.
Right.
The list that I wrote the night before, I feel like I can fire them off in those first couple of hours of the day. Beyond that,
do you have breakfast before that?
I try to. Breakfast is a really hard one for me.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I get the kids' breakfast. I do kids' breakfast most mornings, get them off to daycare. But I find breakfast is something that I have to force myself to eat.
Yeah.
I don't normally wake up hungry, and I'm normally a pretty hungry guy.
Right.
You know, I have quite a fast metabolism. I eat a lot of food, but the morning times I have to force myself. But it'll usually be, the most common one would be, food around that kind of 11 a.m. break.
Yeah.
That's when I start to get really hungry. And if I'm focused enough, I'll just smash some porridge with the kids.
Yeah, right. Just get it done.
But usually I'm just get the kids done, get them sorted, and focus on myself later. Something I probably should work on. I do feel much better throughout the day if I have a meal first thing.
Right.
But I'm just not hungry in the mornings.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't force it either. You know, I prefer to get up, have a couple of hours of being awake. Like I'll come in, train in the morning for 90 minutes, 30 minutes to drive to work, 90 minutes training, and then I'll go eat. Or on my days where I work from home, of which I do 2, I'll usually just fast until about 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Yeah. That's
I'll
kind of my
I'll
natural rhythm.
pump a coffee. Which I wouldn't necessarily say that's the healthiest thing, but it allows me to be, I don't know, feels good getting that little bit of drug in the brain and, a bit more productive.
Yeah, I'm a tea man first thing.
Are you?
Coffee,
British.
First coffee is normally that 11 o'clock kind of vibe. That's my get up, turn the kettle on. Well, I fill the kettle up before I go to bed.
Wow.
That's
really chasing efficiency there, so that it's not even like, oh fuck, kettle's not full.
Yeah. Well, it's just like when you've got a baby under the arm and you've got other things going on. Just being able to flick the kettle on makes life easy.
I had a business coach years ago, a fella named Drew. It's taught me some really good stuff. He said to me, don't try to create and implement at the same time. And he's like, they're just separate processes in your brain. So make a time for creating and then make a time for implementing. And I've thought about this a lot, where it's relevant to, say, someone in my position or someone running a gym. Examples of when that happens, like don't open up your Instagram and try to come up with an idea. What am I going to post about right now? Because you're trying to implement and also create at the same time. Another example that I think for any coach, this one rings true is I need to write a program for a class or for a person. Sit down, open up a new Word document and go, all right, what are we doing? Start writing the program. Okay, I'll warm up. Okay, yeah, what's first? Like, it's a nightmare. Whereas if you do them separately, so if you go, hey, I got 30 minutes here, I'm going to come up with some ideas for what I'm going to post about this week. Or I'm going to write out a basic overview of the program I'm writing for so-and-so. And then at another time that day or the next day, you go, cool, I'm going to take that and I'm going to post this thing.
Yeah.
Take one of those ideas and make it a post. Like it fucking works so well. I actually remember hearing it when we're in the movement culture too. There were these rules that some teacher had put out there, but one was do not try to analyze and do. They are separate processes.
It's true.
Yeah, it worked really well for me. So, I'm just thinking about in terms of hacks, I've always found that being able to look at what I need to get done and identify, is that an implementation thing or is it a creative thing? And then just making sure they're separate. And, ideally, and a lot of people don't have this, don't have the ability to do this, or the luxury is the word I'm looking for, but to have them on separate days.
Yeah. I would love to be able to do that, to have a whole day dedicated to creativity, factor in some movement and some stuff that you like doing. You can have days where you just think stuff through, and I have done that before. I've gone off and I've just played a round of golf with the intention to come up with 3 good ideas by the end of the round of golf kind of thing. But I'm not that great at that, dedicating an entire day to just thinking and being creative. I tend to get sucked into the daily tasks. I can't quite help it.
Yeah, you want to start ticking off the list, don't you?
Well, yeah, and I think it's just a constant, right? Even if it's little stuff. But in an ideal world, I would love to be able to do that, to have just a day dedicated to creativity.
Are you familiar with Stephen Covey's, what does he call them, time management quadrants? I think he's the 7 habits of highly effective people.
Is that the one that's like you need to do it, you would like to do it?
Yeah, it's urgent, not urgent, important, not important. And so there's 4.
Yeah, so if it's urgent and important, it's what you do, and you delegate.
Yeah. And urgent and important makes sense. That's going to get done.
Yeah.
Then you got the other end of the spectrum, quadrant 4, I believe, which is not urgent, not important. So it's like, don't do that stuff. That's you fucking around on Instagram or watching a YouTube video that, for longer than you should be. That's doesn't need to happen. Arguably there's a place for it, but not when you're trying to be productive.
Yep.
But yeah, the other 2 quadrants are what are interesting. There is the urgent, not important, and that is often when you look in your emails. There's urgent shit, but some of it just doesn't matter. And so, what is that taking the place of right now? You obviously, and I think you get good at realizing that and going, okay, I'm going to handle that later. But the last one is not urgent, but important. And that is where a lot of the creative stuff lands, I find. Coming up with ideas, writing content, designing a new marketing campaign, telling a story that, just coming up with something that will become an asset for your business. If you're creating a marketing campaign, that's hugely important. But if you don't do it today, it doesn't matter. And if you don't do it tomorrow, it probably doesn't matter. But it does have to happen.
Yep.
And so you look at what often takes the place of that non-urgent, important stuff, and it's I was responding to Instagram comments because that was urgent, or I was trying to clear out my inbox because that was urgent. And, you might spend fucking an hour and a half on that stuff, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a benefit of running 2 things at once, is those important but unurgent things become somewhat urgent, because I know now that if I don't complete a creativity task by the end of Tuesday, let's say, the next 2 days are focused on the other business, the last day is focused on my kid, then it's the weekend with the family, and then I'm back to Monday again. So if I don't complete it on Tuesday afternoon, I won't get an opportunity to work on it again until Monday. So that's like a self-imposed deadline. So it becomes a lot more urgent, and so you just make the time to get it done because it's squeezed into such a short amount of time that you can do it. It's not like, oh, I'll just do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know that tomorrow's like 5 days away that I can actually work on it. So
You never have the like, oh, I'll just get up a couple hours earlier on the weekend and do it then.
my sleep is so erratic right now with the baby and stuff. There's no way that I can plan an early morning session to just get stuff done, because it's a gamble what our nights are going to be like at the moment.
Yeah, right. A blessing of sorts.
Yeah, and also I'm not super productive first thing in the morning. I've never been a really early riser.
Because you're drinking tea.
I'm drinking tea.
Not enough caffeine, dude.
Maybe that's my downfall, but yeah, no, my creativity. I reckon if I worked from like 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. every day, that would be the most productive time of my day. That's when my brain is at its highest function. The amount of times that I have got up at like 2 a.m. and just went and sat down and done like 2 hours of the most productive work I would do in the entire day, and then go back to bed.
Feeling like, yes, I just did some good work.
And you wake up in the morning, you feel chuffed, like, you know, you're a bit tired, but you've achieved so much already. My brain just works weirdly like that.
You know, that's a universal thing, that end of the day. That's
I heard like 4 a.m. is supposed to be the most creative hour of the day or something.
I've heard different things, but like a bit more like the things I've heard are like 10, 11 p.m. That's where a lot of people really hit their stride, because the rest of the world has shut down.
Correct. There's no stimulus to draw you away, right? So
Yeah.
if you were to wake up at 4 a.m., the world is still very quiet.
Yeah.
You don't have any other distractions, really. So you can be totally focused. I don't wake up 4 a.m. focused, though.
Did you ever, one of Tim Ferriss's books, might have been the more recent one he did, where he's got just kind of little snapshots of interviews and stuff that he's done with all sorts of people. And he talks with a lot of great authors in that book about their process around writing. Because he's like, you know, writing is fucking hard. Like, you got to sit down, like there's a discipline to it.
Yeah.
And a lot of them talk about this discipline, and you got to sit down, you got to do it, and, you know, it doesn't always feel right, whatever. And I'm sure it's Paulo Coelho that he talks to, the guy that wrote The Alchemist and other books, if you ever come across that. Good book. And I'm sure it's him, and he's talking about, he's like, what's your process? He's like, well, my process is, it's very, very specific. He's like, I get up early, and I know that I need to get X amount of writing done that day. And so basically I start by taking a short walk, and on that walk I'm, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, and then I get home, and then I fuck around a little bit and watch a bit of television. He's like, and then before you know, I'm a little bit hungry and it's lunchtime. I haven't started writing yet, but I cook a nice lunch. He's like, so then it's the afternoon, I want to go for a little walk, get the food digested, still don't feel particularly inspired. He's like, and then it's like 4 o'clock and the fucking day's about to end, and I really have to get some writing done. And so I sit down for like 90 minutes and I pump out the writing.
Yeah.
He's like, but it takes me the whole day to build up the, you know, the motivation or the energy to get that done. I really love that, because it's really imperfect. It's really not ideal.
But it's also quite real, right? I think that's the reality for a lot of people, a lot of business owners, you know, and I personally, you know, do that a lot and feel guilty about it a lot, that I'm not doing the things that I know that I need to do during the day. But I feel like, you know, I've done it so long and my business is going, you know, reasonably well, that it works as long as you get it done. And as long as you just make sure that the important tasks are done. But yeah, work on creative stuff when you're feeling creative. Like I don't have a super strict routine. I don't have regular hacks that I do super consistently all the time that work. I don't have a very structured day. You know, I'm very much a reactionary type business owner at the moment. Make sure all of the fundamentals are done, but then work on what you feel like you want to work on in the time. That's how I operate best. And it's not perfect. Your days aren't fully structured. I tend to get pulled from one task to another and may not complete the original one. That happens a lot. But I just kind of go with the flow of the day.
You trust yourself that if you made that change, then it was probably the right thing to do.
Yeah, the other task probably wasn't that important. And yeah, I could be more efficient. I could be more productive if I had more of a structure, but I just don't work well in that environment. So I like to be flexible. I like to be able to go and exercise when I want to, go and get some movement in when I want to, eat when I want to, and then work when I want to. But I do have to make sure that everything is going good and all the important stuff is done. I like to think of especially my Waw business, like the analogy I like to think of is that at the moment I'm like stood in a kitchen with like 100 boiling pots all around me, and everything's just boiling away, going okay. Sometimes I have to jump on one and turn the gas down a bit. Sometimes one's not boiling anymore, I have to turn the gas up a bit. As long as I keep some gas coming in and keep everything boiling, then it's all seemingly going okay. So I'm constantly kind of on edge with it, but it's a system that's working at the moment. But yeah, I don't think people should be afraid to be flexible and go with what you're feeling when you're trying to run your own thing. If you try to structure your day and confine yourself to time restraints all the time, you just end up resenting it a bit, I think.
Yeah, it's a good point. Only thing I would add to that is that I think you are an organized guy and you're a disciplined guy. And I think that as qualities, they allow you to be that way. Because I can think of people who might take a kind of more fluid approach like that, and they lack discipline and organization, and their day's a fucking mess all the time. And you're like, whoa, and really unproductive, right? So I think it's also about knowing what works for you and how you behave.
Yeah. I have, if I do take flexi days like that, where I'm not doing the stuff that I probably should be doing, I always have that little bit of guilt that I should be doing that. And that keeps me coming back and make sure that I get it done.
Yeah.
But yeah, also, I do love it. Like, I do love working on the stuff that I'm working on, which is why, like, now having this new little venture, who's reignited that fire of passion in running and starting a small business, which has gone out somewhat in my other one, being 10 years in now. Passion and enjoying what you're doing is absolutely massive. I don't think there's any way that I'd be able to run my current business and start a new one if I didn't love it. It would be quick to die if it was just something that was a business that made money that I didn't really enjoy. I personally wouldn't be able to run that business. Because when you get times when it is really hard and you've got a lot of shit going wrong and things aren't going the way that you planned, you're not making enough money, or you spent too much on something and something just breaks, or you get a real bad review on something, like, you've got to actually love it to push through those times. And for me, yeah, if I was going to start a new business, which I've thought about for many years, which one I could do, and a lot of the products that I come up with, I think would have been good businesses. They probably would have made money, but I don't think I personally would have been able to run them in the long term, just because I didn't have that passion. So yeah, for me, if I don't love it, it's not going to work for me.
Yeah, I feel that, mate. Thanks for coming on. It's nice to talk with you about business.
Always a pleasure, Joey.
Yeah, I'll like I said, I'll put a link in the show notes to the previous episode we did with Rikki, where you can find out about his 10-year-old business. Let's get you back in. Let's do this again in a few months' time, 6 months, so when the new business is up and running. Yeah,
I'm hoping to get it all launched before Christmas, but the next 6 months will be super important. Trying to fast track everything, but it's exciting. But yeah, I'd love to come back on and chat. I'd have a lot more to talk about then, because starting something and launching it is something very different. So the launch is going to be key, and if I do that right, then I could be laughing.
We could be doing this one in the Bahamas. Thanks, man.
All good, Joey. Thanks, buddy.